The air in the lower tunnels of Kelvar 7 tasted like metal and dust. Daiho wiped sweat from his forehead as he worked on the broken pressure valve. The colony's life support systems were old, constantly breaking down, and he was one of the few engineers who could fix them without looking at a manual. He had been working for 3 hours when he heard the screams. Daiho froze, his wrench still gripping the valve. The sound came from the residential section, just beyond the maintenance corridor. It was not a human scream. The pitch was different, musical almost, but filled with terror. He should have stayed where he was. That was the smart thing to do on a frontier colony. Mind your own business, fix your machines, collect your pay, and go home. But Daiho's feet were already moving before his brain could catch up. The corridor opened into a small market area where different species traded goods. Now it was chaos. Stalls were overturned, produce scattered across the floor, and in the center of it all stood 3 massive figures in dark armor. Vralith warriors. Daiho recognized them immediately. Everyone in this part of space knew about the Vralith. They were 7 feet tall, covered in thick gray skin that looked like stone, and they treated other species like animals. They raided colonies, took captives, and sold them to whoever paid the most. 2 of the warriors held a creature Daiho had never seen before. She was slender, maybe 5 feet tall, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow softly. Her large eyes were dark and filled with panic. She struggled against the thick cables binding her arms, but the Vralith barely noticed her efforts. Behind her, 2 smaller versions of the same species huddled together, making high-pitched sounds of distress. Children, Daiho realized. They were just children. Quiet! One of the Vralith growled in broken common tongue. He raised a thick club made of dark metal, crackling with blue energy. Or, I sell you piece by piece. The mother creature made soothing sounds to her children, trying to calm them. Her skin pulsed with different colors, patterns of light dancing across her arms and face. Some kind of communication, Daiho guessed. One of the children, the smaller one, suddenly broke away from its sibling and ran. Its tiny legs carried it across the scattered vegetables, heading for a gap between 2 overturned stalls. The third Vralith warrior turned, his heavy boots crushing a basket of fruit. He raised his plasma club high, a cruel smile on his massive face. The weapon hummed with deadly energy. One strike would kill something that small instantly. Daiho did not think. He just moved. His legs pumped hard as he sprinted across the market floor. His boots slipped on smashed produce. His lungs burned. The Vralith warrior was already swinging the club downward toward the fleeing child. Daiho threw himself forward, his shoulder connecting with the small alien creature and knocking it aside. The plasma club came down hard, catching Daiho across his left side. White-hot pain exploded through his ribs. The energy discharge burned through his work shirt and seared his skin. He heard something crack inside his chest, felt something break, and then he was on the ground, gasping for air that would not come. The world tilted and spun. Through blurred vision, he saw the small alien child scramble back to its sibling. The mother was making urgent, desperate sounds. The Vralith warrior who had struck him stood over Daiho, his club still crackling with residual energy. Stupid human, the warrior said, but there was something like curiosity in his voice. Why protect alien spawn? Daiho could not answer. His ribs screamed with every breath. The burn across his side felt like someone was still holding fire against his skin. The warrior's massive hand grabbed Daiho by the collar and lifted him off the ground like he weighed nothing. Fresh agony shot through his broken ribs. You interfere with Vralith business. Now you come too. The next few minutes were a blur of pain. Daiho was dragged through corridors he barely recognized. The mother, alien, and her children were pushed ahead of him. Somewhere behind them, colonists watched but did nothing. Nobody fought the Vralith. Nobody was that stupid. Except for me. Daiho thought through the haze of pain. I was that stupid. They were shoved into the back of a transport vehicle. The space was cramped and dark, lit only by dim red lights. Daiho collapsed against the metal wall. each breath feeling like knives in his chest. The alien mother was pushed in next to him, her children clutching at her legs. The transport door slammed shut with a heavy clang. An engine roared to life, and they began to move. For a long time, nobody spoke. Dae-ho focused on breathing, on staying conscious despite the waves of pain washing over him. His side felt wet. Blood, probably. The burns would be bad too. Without medical attention soon, he might not make it. The alien mother made a soft sound. Dae-ho turned his head slowly to look at her. Up close, he could see details he had missed before. Her skin was not just blue but covered in delicate patterns that shifted and changed. Her eyes were huge and dark like pools of water at night. She was looking at him with an expression he could not quite read. One of her children, the one Dae-ho had pushed out of the way, crept closer. It was small enough to fit in Dae-ho's lap, with the same glowing blue skin as its mother. It reached out a tiny hand and gently touched Dae-ho's injured side. He hissed in pain, and the small creature pulled back quickly. But then its skin began to glow brighter, patterns of light rippling across its small body. The mother made a gentle sound, and the other child joined its sibling. Both small creatures pressed their hands against their mother's arms, creating a chain of pulsing light. The mother looked at Dae-ho again. Slowly, carefully, she reached out and placed her hand on his shoulder. Her touch was cool and gentle. Where her skin made contact with his, Dae-ho felt a strange, tingling sensation. The patterns of light from the children flowed up the mother's arms and seemed to pulse into him. The pain did not go away. But something else happened. He felt warmth that was not physical. A sense of deep gratitude, of sorrow, of determination. Emotions that were not his own flooded through his mind. She was telepathic. These creatures could share thoughts and feelings through touch, and what she was sharing now was simple and clear. Thank you. I am sorry. I will not forget. Dae-ho managed a weak nod. His vision was starting to fade at the edges. The blood loss and pain were catching up to him. But before the darkness took him, he felt those small alien hands grip his larger human hand tightly. The transport carried them into the darkness of space, away from the colony, away from any hope of rescue. Dae-ho's last conscious thought was wondering if he would ever see another sunrise. Dae-ho woke to the smell of rust and unwashed bodies. Every part of him hurt, but his left side felt like it was still on fire. He tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. The pain in his ribs forced a groan from his lips. Easy, a voice said. Not a human voice. Dae-ho's eyes focused slowly in the dim light. The alien mother sat nearby, her blue skin providing the only real light in the dark space. They were in a cage. Metal bars on all sides, barely enough room to stretch out. He could see other cages beyond theirs, filled with other captives from different species. They were on a ship. He could feel the vibration of engines through the floor. The two alien children huddled in the corner of the cage, their small bodies pressed together. Their skin glowed faintly, pulsing in sync with each other. The mother noticed Dae-ho looking at them and made a soft clicking sound. The children's heads turned toward him, their large, dark eyes reflecting the dim light. Dae-ho tried to speak, but his throat was dry. The mother understood somehow. She crawled closer, moving carefully in the cramped space, and offered him a small metal cup. Water. It tasted stale and metallic, but Dae-ho drank it gratefully. Thank you, he whispered. The mother tilted her head, watching him. Her skin rippled with patterns of light, colors flowing across her arms and face, like living art. She was trying to communicate, but Dae-ho could not understand the patterns. Over the next few hours, he learned more about his situation. They were on a Vrelith slave ship, heading to a trade hub where captives would be sold. The cages were checked twice a day, once for a small ration of food and water, and once for inspection. The inspections were the worst. The first one came when Dae-ho had just managed to find a position that hurt slightly less. Heavy boots echoed in the corridor between cages. A Vrolith guard appeared, his massive frame blocking most of the light from the hallway. He stopped at their cage and grinned, showing teeth like broken stones. His eyes went to the children first. "Rare species," he said in rough common tongue. "Mirai. Telepaths. Worth much money." He reached through the bars with one massive hand, fingers stretching toward the smaller child. The mother moved to block him, but she was weak and bound with thin chains around her wrists. The guard laughed and pushed her aside easily. The children made terrified sounds, pressing back against the cage wall. Daeho moved without thinking. His broken ribs screamed in protest, but he lunged forward and grabbed the Vrolith's wrist with both hands. The guard's skin felt like rough leather over stone. "Don't touch them," Daeho said through gritted teeth. The guard's eyes widened in surprise, then narrowed in anger. His free hand came through the bars and grabbed Daeho by the throat, lifting him off the cage floor. Daeho's feet kicked uselessly in the air, his already damaged ribs compressed further. Black spots danced in his vision. "Brave human," the guard growled. "Stupid, but brave." He squeezed harder, cutting off Daeho's air completely. Then he threw Daeho against the back of the cage. Daeho's head hit the metal bars with a clang that echoed through the hold. The guard spat on the floor and walked away, his laughter fading down the corridor. Daeho lay crumpled against the bars, struggling to breathe. The pain in his ribs had multiplied. He might have broken more bones in the impact. His vision swam. Cool hands touched his face. The mother was leaning over him, her skin pulsing with urgent patterns of light. She placed her hand on his forehead, and again, Daeho felt that strange connection. Emotions flowed into him. Concern, fear, gratitude, sorrow. The children crept closer, their small hands joining their mother's. The telepathic link grew stronger. Daeho felt their minds touching his, curious and gentle. Despite their fear, they were so young. Babies, really. And they had just watched him get hurt, trying to protect them. This became the pattern of their days. The guards came regularly to torment the captives. They seemed to enjoy it. Every time they approached the cage, Daeho made himself the target. He insulted them in the few Vrolith words he had picked up. He spat at them through the bars. He threw the stale food rations at their heads. Each act of defiance earned him punishment. Electric shocks from a prod they carried. Beatings with their clubs, set to low power so it would hurt but not kill. Reduced food rations. Once, they did not give him water for 2 full days, but they left the Mirai family alone. The mother, whose name Daeho learned was Issa through their telepathic connection, tried to stop him at first. She would position herself between Daeho and the guards, but Daeho always found a way to draw their attention back to himself. During the quiet hours between inspections, Issa would sit with Daeho and share her mind with his. He learned things about her species that way. The Mirai were peaceful. They lived on a world with 3 moons and purple oceans. They communicated primarily through bioluminescent patterns and telepathic touch. They valued family above all else. Her mate had been killed during the Vrolith raid that captured them. She showed Daeho the memory, and he felt her grief as if it were his own. The smaller child was named Kito. The slightly larger one was Lyra. They were only 3 cycles old, which Issa helped him understand, meant they were like human toddlers. Daeho shared memories with her too, though he had fewer good ones to offer. His childhood in the colony slums, his training as an engineer, the loneliness of frontier life. Issa absorbed it all with gentle understanding. On the 5th day, a different guard came. This one was larger than the others, with scars across his face and arms. He was drunk on whatever the Vrolith used to get intoxicated. He stopped at their cage and leered at Issa. "Pretty lights," he slurred. "Wonder if you bleed light too." He unlocked the cage door and stepped inside. Daeho was on him instantly. Even with broken ribs and a body covered in bruises, even weakened by days of poor food and water, Dae-ho fought. He punched, kicked, bit, clawed. He fought like a cornered animal, protecting its young. The guard was twice his size and armored. The fight lasted maybe 30 seconds. When it was over, Dae-ho could not stand. The guard had broken something in his leg. His face was swelling shut from impacts. Blood ran from his nose and mouth. But the guard had left without touching Issa or the children. Issa crawled to Dae-ho's side, her skin blazing with patterns he had never seen before. She pressed both hands to his face, and the telepathic connection opened wider than ever before. He felt her mind completely, and she felt his. She understood now. Understood what drove humans to do impossible things. The fierce protective instinct that made them throw themselves into danger for others. The stubborn refusal to give up even when logic said they should. The ability to endure pain that would break most species. And Dae-ho felt something from her that surprised him. Those who protected your children became family. Pack kin, she called it. And pack kin were never abandoned. Kito and Lyra pressed close to Dae-ho, their small hands touching his arms. Their bioluminescence pulsed in sync with their mother's. In that moment, lying broken on the floor of a slave ship's cage, Dae-ho became something he had never been before. He became part of a family. Vorath Station hung in space like a metal tumor. All dark angles and flickering lights. The Vralith ship docked with a shudder that Dae-ho felt through the cage floor. He had managed to sit up again, though his leg throbbed with constant pain, and his ribs made every breath an effort. Issa sat close to him, her children tucked protectively under her arms. Over the past days, they had developed ways to communicate beyond just telepathy. Simple gestures, shared looks, patterns that Dae-ho was beginning to understand. When her skin pulsed yellow, it meant danger. Blue meant calm. Red meant pain. Right now, her skin was flickering between yellow and a dark purple he had learned meant deep sadness. The guards came and opened the cages one by one. Captives were dragged out into the corridor, fitted with restraints, and marched toward the exit. When they reached Dae-ho's cage, the scarred guard from before grinned down at him. "Still alive, human? Tough one, you are." He grabbed Dae-ho by the arm and hauled him up. Dae-ho's broken leg gave out immediately, and he would have fallen if not for the guard's grip. They fitted him with energy restraints around his wrists that hummed and burned against his skin. Issa and the children received gentler treatment, but only because damaged goods sold for less. They were fitted with thin restraints and herded into the corridor with Dae-ho. The march through the station was a nightmare. Dae-ho could barely walk. Each step sent lightning bolts of agony up his broken leg. Sweat poured down his face. His vision blurred and cleared in waves. But he kept moving. Kept his eyes on Kito and Lyra, walking ahead of him. They arrived at a large open area filled with cages and holding fields. This was the market. All around them, beings of every species imaginable were displayed for sale. Some stood silent and defeated. Others screamed and fought against their restraints. Buyers walked between the displays, examining captives like livestock. Dae-ho was separated from Issa and the children. He was pushed into an energy field that crackled around him like a fence made of lightning. If he touched the edges, it would shock him. Issa and her children were placed in a different field 20 feet away. Through the shimmer of the energy barrier, Dae-ho could see them. Kito and Lyra pressed against their mother, their skin pulsing with frightened patterns. Issa's gaze found Dae-ho's, and even across the distance, he felt her trying to maintain their telepathic connection. The buyers came quickly. A human man in expensive corporate clothing stopped at Dae-ho's field first. He examined a data pad, then looked Dae-ho up and down like he was evaluating a machine. "This one has experience with life support systems," the corporate man said to his assistant. "Could be useful in the deep mines. Make an offer." The assistant tapped on another data pad. "His injuries are extensive, sir. Medical costs would be significant. Price him accordingly then. They moved on. More buyers came. Some were human. Most were not. A hulking creature with 6 arms wanted to know if Daeho could fight. A merchant asked about his technical skills. Each one saw only a resource to be used. At Issa's field, different buyers gathered. A wealthy alien in flowing robes seemed fascinated by the children's bioluminescence. He spoke to a Vralith supervisor about acquiring them for his collection. Issa moved to block his view. But the buyer just laughed. A fight promoter approached Daeho's field next. This the human that took on a Vralith warrior? The promoter asked the guard. Yes, fought drunk Vralith 5 days ago. Still breathing. The promoter's eyes gleamed. Humans are always good for the fighting pits. Crowd loves watching them. They never know when to quit. He circled the energy field, studying Daeho from every angle. Even injured, he has that look. That stupid human stubbornness. Daeho wanted to spit at him but was too dehydrated. Instead, he met the promoter's eyes and smiled with bloody teeth. Come in here and see how stupid I am. The promoter laughed. Yes, this one will do nicely. I will make an offer. Across the market, something was happening at Issa's field. A group of blue-skinned aliens had arrived. 3 of them, dressed in simple robes. They looked like Issa. One of them, an older female, pressed her hand against the energy field, and her skin blazed with urgent patterns. Issa's response was immediate and bright. Hope flooded across her features. The children began making excited sounds. The older female spoke rapidly to the Vralith supervisor in charge. Credits were transferred. Datapads were signed. Within minutes, the energy field around Issa and her children deactivated. They were free. Daeho felt relief wash over him so strongly he almost collapsed. They were safe. That was all that mattered. He had done it. He had kept them alive long enough. The older Mirai female, who he would later learn was named Hana, embraced Issa and the children. They communicated in rapid bursts of bioluminescent patterns. Kito and Lyra clung to their mother, their small bodies trembling with relief. Then Hana turned and walked toward the exit. The other 2, Mirai, followed. Freedom was just a few dozen steps away. But Issa did not move. She stood at the edge of where her energy field had been, her children still holding her hands. She was looking across the market space at Daeho. Hana noticed and returned, speaking in urgent patterns. The other Mirai joined her, clearly arguing with Issa. One of them pointed at the exit. The other gestured at the children. The meaning was clear, even without understanding their language. They had to leave now. This was their only chance. Issa's skin flared bright red, a pattern Daeho had never seen from her before. She planted her feet and crossed her arms. The children mimicked her stance. No. Daeho's chest tightened. She could not be thinking what he thought she was thinking. That would be insane. Issa! He shouted across the market. His voice came out as a croak. Go! Take your children and go! She looked at him then. Really looked at him. And through the weak telepathic connection they still shared across the distance, he felt her response. Not without you. No, Daeho said, shaking his head. Pain shot through his neck from the movement. No, Issa. Don't be stupid. Your children need you. They need to be safe. I don't matter. Hana had produced a translator device now. She held it up, and Issa's voice came through in accented but clear, common tongue. You took blows for my children. You bled for them. You starved for them. In my culture, this makes you pack-kin. We do not abandon pack-kin. I'm not your pack, Daeho shouted, frustration and fear making his voice harsh. I'm just some human who made a stupid choice. Take your kids and get out of here. Issa's skin pulsed with that fierce red pattern again. If I leave you here now, I teach them Such things have no worth. The other Mirai were arguing frantically with her. Station security was starting to take notice of the commotion. The Vralith supervisors were moving closer, hands on their weapons. Hana spoke into the translator, her voice desperate. Issa, we do not have resources to buy the human. We used everything to free you and the little ones. If we do not leave now, we may lose this chance entirely. Then we stay, Issa said calmly. She walked back to the deactivated holding field and sat down on the floor. Kito and Lyra sat with her, their small hands gripping hers. The market went quiet. Everyone was watching now. You will risk your children's freedom? Hana asked, her skin flickering with disbelief. Issa looked at Daeho across the space between them. Her skin glowed with the blue pattern of calm certainty. He is not stranger. He is Pack. And Pack never leaves Pack behind. The standoff lasted for 3 minutes that felt like 3 hours. Issa sat on the cold floor with Kito and Lyra pressed against her sides. Her skin pulsed with steady patterns of determination. The children's bioluminescence matched their mother's rhythm. Their small faces set with innocent stubbornness. Hana paced in front of them, her skin blazing with patterns that even Daeho could tell meant extreme agitation. The other two Mirai tried reasoning with Issa, their hands moving in urgent gestures, their skin flashing rapid sequences of light. The Vralith supervisors were closing in now, confused by what was happening but sensing opportunity. If the Mirai were refusing to leave, maybe the deal could be renegotiated. Maybe they could charge more. Daeho felt panic rising in his chest. This was wrong. This was all wrong. He had thrown himself in front of that plasma club so that a mother and her children could live, not so they could throw away their freedom for him. Issa, please, he called out, his voice breaking. I'm begging you. I'm not worth this. She looked at him through the shimmering energy field, her large, dark eyes reflecting the harsh market lights. Through their weak, telepathic connection, he felt her emotions clearly. There was no doubt there, no hesitation. Only absolute certainty. One of the Vralith supervisors stepped forward, a datapad in his massive hand. Mirai delegation. Your transaction is complete. You must leave the market area now, or forfeit your purchase. Hana turned to face him, drawing herself up to her full height. Even though she barely reached the Vralith's chest, there was dignity in her posture. We will not leave without the human. The human is not part of your transaction. Then we return our purchase and reclaim our credits. The supervisor's scarred face twisted into something like a smile. Sales are final. No refunds. Then we will remain here until terms are renegotiated. The supervisor's smile faded. His hand moved to the weapon at his belt. You will leave, or you will be removed. Mile. Issa stood slowly, placing herself between the supervisor and her children. Her skin flared bright red, the pattern of defiance. Kito and Lyra stood with her, their small bodies glowing with matching patterns. The market had grown completely silent. Every captive, every buyer, every guard was watching. This kind of thing did not happen. Freed slaves did not refuse their freedom. It went against every practical instinct for survival. But humans would understand. Daeho thought. Humans did illogical things all the time when it came to protecting those they cared about. Station security arrived. 6 armed guards in dark armor. Their leader, a reptilian alien with cold yellow eyes, assessed the situation quickly. What is the problem here? He asked in flat, official tones. The Vralith supervisor explained. The security chief listened, then turned to Hana. You are disrupting station commerce. Leave now, or you will all be detained. Hana's skin rippled with patterns of frustration, but her voice remained calm. We seek only to negotiate for the human's release. Do you have sufficient credits for this negotiation? No. Then there is nothing to negotiate. Remove yourselves from the market. We will not abandon Pack-kin. The security chief's eyes narrowed. Then you will be removed by force and placed in holding cells. Your previous purchase will be confiscated as station property for violation of market regulations. Dae-ho felt his heart stop. They were going to take all of them. The rescue would turn into recapture. Everything Issa was trying to do would make things worse. Stop! Dae-ho shouted. He grabbed the energy field with both hands, and electricity shot through his body. The pain was immense, but he held on, forcing the guards to look at him. She's being irrational because of her species' telepathy. I put thoughts in her head. It's not her fault. It was a weak lie, and everyone knew it. But Dae-ho pressed on, talking fast through the pain of the electricity burning his hands. I release her from any obligation. I refuse her help. She means nothing to me. Tell her to take her kids and leave. Issa made a sound like a wounded animal. Through their connection, he felt her pain at his words, even though she knew he was lying. Hana saw an opportunity in Dae-ho's words. She quickly spoke into her translator. You see? The human releases us from obligation. We will leave peacefully. But Issa was shaking her head. Her skin blazed with patterns of denial. She spoke rapidly in her own language, then grabbed the translator from Hana's hands. He lies, she said clearly. He lies to save us, just as he took blows to save my children. This is what he does. This is who he is. She turned to face the security chief. My people judge worth not by species or appearance, but by actions. This human has proven his worth 100 times over. I will not teach my children that such worth can be abandoned when it becomes inconvenient. Kito stepped forward, his small hand reaching out toward Dae-ho across the distance. The child's skin pulsed with patterns of distress and longing. He spoke in his own language, his voice high and clear. Hana translated reluctantly. The little one says the human is his protector. He says the human has kind hands. Lyra joined her brother, her skin matching his patterns. She spoke too, and Hana's voice roughened with emotion as she translated. She says, the human tells stories with his mind. She says, he smells like safety. Dae-ho's eyes were burning. He told himself it was from the electricity still crackling against his hands. But he knew better. The security chief looked between the Mirai family and Dae-ho. This is highly irregular. Life is irregular, Issa said quietly. We do not choose who becomes important to us. We only choose whether to honor that importance. In the crowd of onlookers, someone started speaking. It was another captive in a nearby holding field, a four-armed alien with gray skin. He was speaking in his own language, but the tone was clear. He was telling a story. Another captive joined in, then another. They were talking about what they had witnessed. The human who took beatings for alien children. The human who drew the guards' anger onto himself to protect the weak. Word had spread through the slave ship during their journey, and now it was spreading through the market. A human buyer near the back of the crowd stepped forward. She was middle-aged, wearing the practical clothes of a freight hauler. Her face was weathered and hard, but her eyes were sharp and thoughtful. How much for the human? She asked the Vralith supervisor. The supervisor named a price. It was high. Too high. The woman nodded slowly. That's more than I have on me. She raised her voice, addressing the crowd. Anyone here think this man deserves to rot in the fighting pits? Silence. Then one of the other human buyers in the crowd stepped forward. I'll contribute. Another human. A young man barely out of his teens. Me too. A merchant with cybernetic implants. Count me in. Not all of them were human. A small alien with blue fur added her credit chip to the pile. Good deeds should be rewarded, she said, in heavily accented common tongue. Even in places like this. The woman who had spoken first collected the contributions quickly and efficiently. She handed the combined credits to the Vralith supervisor. The supervisor checked the amount and grunted. It will do. He deactivated Daeho's energy field. Daeho collapsed immediately, his broken leg unable to support him. Strong hands caught him before he hit the ground. The woman hauler and several others helped him stay upright. "Can you walk?" the woman asked. "Not well." "Good enough. We need to move before these Vralith change their minds." Issa was already there, Hana and the other Mirai surrounding her, and the children. Issa's hands found Daeho's face, and the telepathic connection flooded open. Relief, joy, fierce, protective love. She was crying. He realized. The wetness on his cheeks was her tears. The woman who had organized the collection introduced herself as Jiwoo. She ran a small freight operation out of Vorath Station, transporting legal cargo and asking no questions about the illegal kind. Her ship was called the Morning Bell, and it was currently docked 3 levels down from the market. "Can you make it that far?" she asked Daeho as they moved through the crowded station corridors. "I'll make it," Daeho said through gritted teeth. Each step on his broken leg was agony, but he forced himself to keep moving. 2 other humans supported him on either side. One was a young man named Quan, who worked as a station mechanic. The other was a former soldier named Bo-Ra, her scarred arms covered in faded tattoos. Behind them, the Mirai delegation surrounded Issa and her children, like a protective shield. Hana kept looking back nervously. "The Vralith may come after us. They are not known for honoring agreements when they think they can profit from breaking them. Let them try," Bo-Ra said. Her hand rested on a weapon at her hip. "I didn't contribute my credits just to watch these bastards take everyone back." They reached a junction where the corridor split in 3 directions. Jiwoo was checking a datapad for the fastest route when alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed along the ceiling. "Security lockdown," Quan said, his face going pale. "The Vralith," Hana said. "They must have reported us for theft or some other false charge." Heavy blast doors began sliding closed at both ends of the corridor. They had maybe 30 seconds before they were trapped between them. "Run!" Jiwoo shouted. The group sprinted toward the nearest open door. Daeho tried to keep up, but his broken leg betrayed him. He stumbled, and would have fallen if not for Bo-Ra's quick grab. She threw his arm over her shoulders and half-carried, half-dragged him forward. They made it through the blast door with seconds to spare. The heavy metal slammed shut behind them with a boom that echoed through the station. "That won't stop them for long," Jiwoo said. She was already moving again, leading them through a maze of maintenance corridors. "I know ways around the main security. Follow close." Far, the group moved quickly through areas of the station most people never saw. Service tunnels lit by flickering lights. Storage rooms filled with broken equipment. A few times they heard security forces passing nearby. But Jiwoo seemed to have an instinct for avoiding them. Daeho's vision was starting to blur from pain and exhaustion. He had lost a lot of blood over the past days, and his body was running on nothing but adrenaline and stubborn will. Issa kept pace beside him, her hand on his shoulder maintaining their telepathic connection. Through it, she shared what strength she could, but it was not much. She was exhausted too. Kito and Lyra were being carried by the other Mirai now, their small bodies limp with fatigue. But their skin still pulsed with light, still maintained the rhythm that connected them to their mother and to Daeho. They reached the docking level after what felt like hours, but was probably only 20 minutes. Jiwoo's ship was a battered freighter that had seen better days, but it looked beautiful to Daeho. Freedom was just a few dozen meters away. Then the Vralith appeared. They came from both ends of the docking corridor, 6 of them in full combat armor. The scarred supervisor from the market was in the lead, a plasma rifle in his massive hands. "You will return our property," he said, his voice echoing off the metal walls. "Or, you will die." Jiwoo's hand went to her weapon, but Bo-Ra put a hand on her arm. 6 of them. 7 of us. But most of us aren't fighters. And they're in full armor. We can't win this. "We don't have to," a new voice said. A small ship dropped from the upper docking level, its engines screaming. It was Mirai design, sleek and organic looking, covered in bioluminescent patterns. The ship positioned itself between the Vralith and the group, its defensive weapons powering up with a high-pitched whine. Hana's skin flared with bright patterns. The delegation ship. They must have been monitoring our situation. A ramp descended from Jiwoo's freighter. "Everyone on board, now!" she shouted. Bo-Ra and Quan carried Daeho up the ramp, while the others ran ahead. Plasma bolts started flying as the Vralith opened fire. The Mirai ship's shields absorbed the impacts, but the shields would not hold forever. Inside the Morning Bell, a third human waited. He was older, with gray hair and steady hands. "I'm Tae-min," he said, already pulling out medical equipment. "I'm a medic. Get the injured one to the medical bay." They laid Daeho on a table while Jiwoo ran to the cockpit. The ship's engines roared to life. Through the viewports, Daeho could see plasma fire intensifying. The Mirai ship was laying down covering fire, but station security was joining the Vralith now. "Hold on," Jiwoo's voice came over the intercom. "This is going to be rough." The Morning Bell lurched upward, rising on its vertical thrusters. More plasma fire hit the shields. Alarms blared. Then they were clear of the docking bay, moving into open space. The Mirai ship followed, still taking fire from Vralith pursuit craft that had launched from the station. Jiwoo pushed the freighter's engines hard, building speed for a hyperspace jump. 30 seconds to jump, Quan called from the navigation station. If we can last that long. The Mirai ship moved to intercept the Vralith pursuit craft, positioning itself between them and the Morning Bell. Its weapons tore into the enemy ships with surprising ferocity. For a peaceful species, the Mirai knew how to fight when they had to. Tae-min was working on Daeho's injuries, his experienced hands moving quickly. Multiple broken bones, severe burns, internal bleeding. "How are you even conscious?" "Stubbornness," Daeho managed to say. Issa was there too, her hands on his arm, maintaining their connection. Her skin pulsed with patterns of encouragement and hope. 10 seconds, Quan announced. A massive impact rocked the ship. One of the Vralith had gotten a lucky shot through the shields. Sparks flew from a control panel. The lights flickered. "Jump!" Reality twisted. The stars stretched into lines. Daeho felt the familiar lurch of hyperspace transition. And then they were away. Safe. The medical bay was quiet, except for the hum of equipment and Daeho's labored breathing. Tae-min worked steadily, setting bones, treating burns, stabilizing Daeho's condition as best he could with the limited equipment available. Issa never left his side. Kito and Lyra had been settled in chairs nearby by the other Mirai, but they kept reaching toward Daeho with their small hands, maintaining the telepathic connection even from a distance. Hours passed. Daeho drifted in and out of consciousness, his mind foggy with pain medication and exhaustion. When he finally came fully awake, the medical bay was dimly lit. Issa sat in a chair beside his bed, her bioluminescence providing the only light. "Hey," he said softly. Her skin rippled with patterns of relief. She reached out and took his hand, and their minds connected in that now familiar way. Through the connection, she showed him what had happened while he slept. The Morning Bell had rendezvoused with a larger Mirai vessel. Formal introductions were made. The humans who had helped were offered passage and generous payment. The Mirai delegation was deeply impressed by the actions of the humans, especially Jiwoo's quick thinking and organization. But more than that, Issa showed him how the story had spread. The tale of a human who took blows for alien children, and the alien mother who refused freedom without him. It was being told on Mirai worlds and human colonies. It was becoming something larger than just one act of kindness. "Why did you do it?" Daeho asked aloud. "Why risk everything for me?" Issa was quiet for a moment. Then she took the translator from a nearby table and spoke carefully, making sure he understood every word. "My people have a saying. The strength of the pack is measured by how it protects the smallest among them. You were not my pack. You were a stranger. But when that weapon fell toward Kito, you did not hesitate. You did not calculate odds or consider cost. You simply acted to protect the small and helpless. She paused, her skin pulsing with soft blue light. In that moment, you became Pack. And Pack never abandons Pack. No matter the cost. Daeho felt his eyes burning again. I'm just one person. Just some engineer who got lucky. No, Issa said firmly. You are proof that honor exists even in the darkest places. That sacrifice has meaning. That bonds can form between any beings who choose to protect each other. Her skin brightened. Today, you taught my children what it means to be brave. I taught them what it means to be loyal. Together, we showed two species that they are not so different. The medical bay door opened. Kito and Lyra came running in, followed by a smiling Hana. The children climbed carefully onto Daeho's bed, mindful of his injuries. Their small hands found his, and the telepathic connection expanded to include them. Through it, Daeho felt their simple, pure affection. To them, he was not a different species or a stranger. He was the one who kept them safe. He was family. We are taking you to our homeworld, Hana said. Our best healers will treat your injuries. And then, if you wish, you may stay with us as honored guest. Or we will help you return to human space. The choice is yours. Daeho looked at the Mirai surrounding him, at Issa's gentle smile and the children's bright, trusting eyes, at the patterns of light dancing across their skin, including him in their conversation without words. I think, he said slowly, I'd like to stay for a while, if that's okay. Number 4. Number 4 mine. Number 4. Issa's skin blazed with patterns of joy. Kito and Lyra made happy sounds. Even Hana's usually composed features broke into a wide smile. Through the viewports, stars streamed past as they traveled through hyperspace. Behind them, Vorath Station and the Vralith were distant memories. Ahead lay new worlds and new possibilities. Daeho closed his eyes, feeling the warmth of the small hands holding his and the gentle presence of Issa's mind connected to his own. For the first time in longer than he could remember, he felt like he belonged somewhere. He felt like he was home.